There's a story I tell in the book about a venture called Dark Matter,
right?
Which started out actually as an American contractor to the Emiratis to do hacking abroad. These were veterans of the CIA and NSA who moved to the UAE, were given, sumptuous accommodations and very high salaries. Eventually, the Emiratis essentially domesticated all of that and built their own companies, but are attracting people from Israel, from Europe to come work there. So they may not need the services of an Israeli company when they have their own. There's hacking technology. There's technology to get inside your phone. That is the most precious commodity. It's the most expensive because it's very difficult to get into an Android or an Apple phone. But short of that, you have all sorts of companies supplying surveillance technology to governments around the phone. So your phone right now it's a radio. It's communicating to the cell towers, to the internet service providers. There are lots of applications on your phone that are constantly trying to gather information about you in order to push advertisements in your direction. That's what I meant about earlier when everyone in the room to some degree is being spied on. There are defense and intelligence contractors that have built a whole product line on advertising intelligence, is what it's called, ADINT. So you used the acronym earlier, SIGINT. There's HUMINT. Now the new thing is ADINT, which is tracking people's location based on advertising beacons and data that you can gather from applications. Companies, I'm not exaggerating, some of the companies now offer a product to a government where you can draw a geofence around this room and say, tell me everything about everybody who's in this room right now. And instantly they will produce a dossier. The dossier will include your name, your professional occupation, your place of residence, your religious affiliation, your network of friends, what information they might be able to gather about your phone, its operating system, in order to do reconnaissance for a possible spyware attack. So it's incredibly rich information that now can be gathered about anyone without even getting inside the phone.
And how do you get inside the phone? So you send an SMS and you click the link, this is a very sort of spying 101.
Yes. How does it?
Or they have to confiscate your phone at an airport and do something about it?
Both, actually. So how do you get inside a phone? First of all, the industry that supplies government with that capability, their technology has evolved. So in the early days, yes, you used to have to trick somebody into clicking on a link. And typically that would come in a text message. And the text message, once you click on a link, what would happen is the spyware company would have knowledge of a flaw in some program or application on your device, such that when you clicked on that link, it would confuse the phone's operating system or the application on the phone, and they would hack the phone that way. They would gain entry into the phone and then implant the spyware. So it's a two-stage process. There's the exploit, if you will. So this is like picking a lock on a safe. Then there's the spyware. The spyware is a very big program that doesn't change much. It's like Microsoft Word or Adobe Acrobat. It's what's given to the spies. And it has a very elaborate user interface, clicking buttons to, turn on the microphone, turn on the camera, extract data.
It's like an invisible app?
Yes. Yeah, it's designed to evade forensic analysis. It's designed to disappear. They can click a button and have it completely withdraw from the phone. Those text messages or other links that targets would have to click on were also the Achilles heel, frankly. And that's where the Citizen Lab got involved. We started meeting with victims and we would check their text message history. Right. And we would see a domain and a shortened link that we could positively attribute to an SO group or another company. Starting around 2021, we actually discovered on the phone of a Saudi women's rights activist, Loujain Al-Atul, I tell the story in there,
Yes.
we captured Pegasus and the exploit that was used to hack her phone. And it was phenomenal because it was a zero-click version of the spyware, meaning no interaction is required with the target. There's no link to click on. You don't have to trick anybody. You don't even have to engage with them. 1 minute, your phone is fine. All the software is up to date. Sitting here on the desk next to you, like that, it's compromised. And you're none the wiser. There's no visible indication of tampering or anything like that. That is the state of the art right now. That is the
Pretty
most
serious.
advanced. Yeah, there is no, if you ask Apple, if you ask Google, there is very little defense against that type of intrusion. We were aware that Saudi Arabia had hacked a phone in Canada.
Yeah, he is in
He was in Quebec.
Yes.
And we drew up, we didn't know who though. We just could see Saudi Arabia was using Pegasus to spy on one phone in the Sherbrooke, Quebec region. Who is that? So we literally went door to door. We drew up a short list of Saudi activists. We hypothesized it's likely to be a dissident in this country, of which there are many Saudi people who have come to Canada, and they're still online, they're still criticizing the government. So we went door to door and met with several of them, looking actually exactly as I described, with their consent, looking through their SMS history. We had an automated search thing that we could do. And when we got to Omar Abdulaziz, we found our needle in the haystack. He had a Pegasus link in his SMS history. And in the summer, around June, he received a text message. He clicked on it, that infected his phone. It took us from June till October to write up and publish our report. And throughout this entire period, I had no idea he was a friend of Jamal Khashoggi. We published our report October 1st, 2018. And the next morning, I got a text message from Omar Abdulaziz saying, Jamal has gone missing, I'm very afraid. And I was like, what? Jamal Khashoggi, what's going on? So they were close friends. They had been planning democratic activism against Saudi Arabia over what they thought was a secure end-to-end encrypted application. But the whole time the Saudis were listening in on that conversation. So obviously that was probably the most disturbing case I've ever been involved in, because it was, it's likely the surveillance we uncovered was part of the rationale for his execution. Sometimes these issues can be overshadowed by strategic calculations. We see it happening now with Prime Minister Carney and his variable geometry foreign policy, he calls it, which is very much, realist based and considerations about things like human rights take a
Yeah, I mean, he is in India, right?
He's in India right now, which is a major purveyor of transnational repression,
especially when it comes to
targeted
Canada.
killings. And,
Yes,
yeah.
and so are you worried that the human rights agenda is being sort of pushed aside?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean, with the if only for what's going on in the United States, it's.
But also here in Canada.
Well, I think here in Canada, there's a expediency calculation being made that, well, we are to some degree. I don't want to exaggerate this, but it's a survival question. And it's like we're being threatened, our sovereignty and autonomy is being threatened. So we have to, first of all, tread very carefully about where and how we're going to push certain principles ahead of those strategic calculations. I think that's what's going on in the mind. Of course, I don't agree with that, because my obligation is first and foremost as a researcher and a professor to speak about the evidence that we see, and I'm also obviously in favor of international human rights. And in Greece, we discovered the Greek government was spying on journalists and opposition politicians. Greece's Watergate, it was called in the country. And it took several years before the trials, investigations proceeded. And just 2 days ago, 4 executives from a different spyware company called Intellexa were given major sentences, 8-year sentences each. And that was opened up. That was all triggered by our initial investigation. And then in January, a Saudi activist named Ghanem al-Masiri, based in the UK, around the time of Jamal Khashoggi's execution, we did forensic analysis of his phone, found it had been hacked with Pegasus. He sued Saudi Arabia, and the UK court just in January passed judgment, a $4.1 million settlement on his behalf. So if you're in London and you see those Ferraris and Lamborghinis around the streets of London, maybe they will be seized soon to give money to Ghanem al-Masiri on behalf.
So you created this 25 years ago to be this sort of counterintelligence for the civil society. You're basically kind of the spy chief of the civil society in the world if it was a government of its own.
I guess kind of, well, I don't know if I'd be so presumptuous as to say spy chief. I'm the spy chief of the Citizen Lab.
What's your biggest catch so far?
The one I mentioned about the capturing the zero-click exploit off the phone of Loujain al-Hatul, I think was the biggest in terms of consequence for a couple of reasons. So first of all, practically speaking, everybody who uses an Apple product in this phone, in this room, benefited by that one investigation. Several others we have done like it, because when we capture the exploits and the spyware, what we are capturing is the knowledge or the information that's used to hack a phone. Those, if you were to go out in the gray market or the black market and purchase an exploit for an Apple iPhone right now, it would cost you about $10 million. So what we captured was that blueprint for how to hack a phone. We have, I could have sold that and I wouldn't be talking to you now. I'd be on the Cayman Islands or something like that. But we have an ethical responsibility to disclose that to Apple. So Apple issued an emergency security patch that everybody in this room who uses an Apple product would have got on their phone. And that was a software update.
Interesting.
We have done that now probably 7 or 8 times, separate times throughout the years. Each time that happens, that improves the practical security. You feel this way too when you're doing your job and you're meeting people who are truly victimized in some way. It really inspires you to, it brings you courage to do what you do, because you feel like, I saw what happened to Omar Abdulaziz, or like Loujain al-Hatul, the women's rights activist whose phone I talked about. You may know her because she's quite famous for being the Saudi activist who is advocating for a woman's right to drive a car without a chaperone.
Yes.
For that, she was horribly tortured. And I spent hours talking to her. That's real courage. Her courage to...
She's still there, she can't travel.
She can't travel outside of Saudi Arabia, and when we first reported on that, we reported on it anonymously. She didn't want to be identified, but then, for whatever reason, a few months later, she decided to go public, so now I can talk about it. And I could write about it in the book. Otherwise, I wouldn't be saying anything about it.
I see.
But it's her decision, and we have to respect that decision. But what it does is it gives you strength, because you see this person who's been horribly treated for something so basic as that. To me, it's outrageous, and it makes me more determined to do what I do rather than less. But yeah, obviously we worry about the risks. Yeah.
So we all use these apps, right? WhatsApp, Signal, Facebook Messenger. I want you to, if you can sort of scale it for us from 1 to 10, if 10 being sort of the safest, based on your expertise. So we have an idea of, what are we dealing with.
Yeah.
Let's start with WhatsApp.
WhatsApp has very strong end-to-end encryption. So it uses the industry standard encryption. Actually, WhatsApp was originally developed by the same people who made Signal.
Yeah.
So it's the same protocol. But WhatsApp is owned by Meta, and Facebook. All of the envelope of your chats are being gathered up and used for surveillance for economic reasons. So if you're using WhatsApp, the content of your communications are fine, but it's everything else that's being picked up and analyzed and monitored. So if you're using WhatsApp...
So how would you grade it? Like 8 or 5?
I don't know. In the confines of this room, I'd give it like a C+.
Okay.
Telegram.
Yes.
D, E, way down, very bad.
Signal.
A+. But let me just caveat this. No application. This is what Omar Abdulaziz and Jamal Khashoggi learned. No application is going to save you when someone's inside your phone. That's why the market for this hacking technology exists, because Signal's so robust. You can't defeat Signal by attacking it directly. So what do? You get inside the phone.
Right. So Facebook Messenger is same as WhatsApp?
No, it's far worse.
Far worse.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the same level of end-to-end encryption as WhatsApp.
How about WeChat?
WeChat, well, the Citizen Lab has famously reverse engineered WeChat.
Okay.
We've done extensive reporting on it. Of course, censorship is built into the application. And we proved...
So the coding is done by the right people.
You can't speak about certain things or exchange images or videos because it's all monitored. The thing about WeChat is a very instructive lesson, actually, because all of the surveillance of the customers happen as a function of China's national cybersecurity law in the company's infrastructure, not on the app, right? And so think about that when you're using ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude or Gemini or whatever. All of that information that I'm fighting with my partner and I don't know how to deal with my situation. And by the way, I've got a bank loan. Can I get a better interest rate? All of that's going to a company server and they're analyzing it. And Lord knows who they're sharing it with. So obviously in China, if you're an activist, we routinely recommend to people, don't use WeChat if you don't want the Chinese government to know what you're doing.